Today's book is Peppa Pig, When I Grow Up. Today in school, Madame Gazelle asked the children what they would like to be when they grow up. She has a basket full of fun hats for them to choose from. The children are so excited. The children are so excited to dress up. They run to the basket, they each grab their items. Madame Gazelle, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, Peppa says. Don't worry, Peppa. You have plenty of time to think about it, Madame Gazelle replies. You can use the costumes to help you decide. Rebecca Rabbit knows what she wants to be when she grows up. She wants to be a queen. Queens get to wear crowns and tell others what to do. Emily Elephant wants to be a teacher. Wonderful, says Madame Gazelle. Teachers are very important. What is it about being a teacher that you like most, Emily? Teachers get to be in charge, Emily replies. I see, says Madame Gazelle. I want to be a police officer when I grow up, says Freddy Fox. The police drive cars with flashing lights and sirens. Me too, says Wendy Wolf. She's dressed up as a sheriff. A sheriff is a kind of police officer who is in charge of all the other police officers. Thank you, Freddie and Wendy. What else do you like about being a police officer? Asked Madame Gazelle. They tell others what to do, reply Freddie and Wendy. Next, it was Susie Sheep's turn to share. I like to be a doctor or a nurse, says Susie Sheep. How lovely! Why do you think you would like that job, Susie? Asks Madame Gazelle. Because they help someone who is sick to get better, and they tell others what to do, Susie Sheep says. Madame Gazelle explains to her students that jobs are more than being in charge. Some jobs like doctors or teachers or a teacher are about helping others. Some jobs are about creating something new like a builder or an artist. Pedro Pony wants to be a superhero. Being a superhero is a very important job. Madame Gazelle says you have to run faster than a train, jump tall buildings, and I don't know if I want to do all those superhero things, but I do want to tell bad guys what to do, says Pedro Pony. On the way home from school, Peppa tells Mummy Pig about her day. So tell me what you learned today, Mummy Pig asks. Madame Gazelle asked us what we want to be when we grow up, says Peppa. That sounds nice, says Mummy Pig. Not really, Mummy. Everyone knows what they want to be, but I don't. George, do you know what you want to be when you grow up? Mummy Pig asks. Dinosaur, cheers George. You see, says Peppa. Don't worry, Peppa. You have plenty of time to decide what you want to be, Mummy Pig replies. What do you do, Mummy? Asks Peppa. I work on my computer, Mummy Pig answers. Do you get to tell others what to do? Peppa asks. No, I don't, replies Mummy Pig. Well, that's no good then, says Peppa. Soon Daddy Pig comes home from work. What is your job, Daddy? Asks Peppa. I could tell you, Peppa, but I think you'd find it a bit boring, replies Daddy Pig. I won't. Daddy, please tell me, please, says Peppa. Snort. Well, Peppa, I work in a big office and help plan big important buildings, Daddy Pig explains, and I get to carry a briefcase and wear a suit. Do you like your job, Daddy? Peppa asks. I like it, but not everyone would, Daddy Pig explains. Everyone's different, Peppa. That night, Peppa is still thinking. What can I do when I grow up? Asks Peppa. Think of something you like doing all the time, says Daddy Pig. I like jumping up in muddy puddles, Peppa says. Well, Peppa, there aren't many jobs with puddle jumping, Daddy Pig explains. But I am very good at puddle jumping, Peppa says. Yes, I suppose you are, Daddy Pig agrees. When I grow up, I will show everyone in the world how to jump in muddy puddles. That sounds like a very good idea, says Daddy Pig, as he shuts off the light. Soon Peppa and George fall asleep to sweet dreams about dinosaurs and puddle jumping. The end. What is your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where Peppa wants to be a muddy puddle jumper. Peppa Pig and the Library Whistles. It's bedtime for Peppa and George. Could we have a story, please? Asked Peppa. Okay, says Mummy Pig. Here's one about the red monkey. We always read that one, says Peppa. The red monkey takes a bath, brushes his teeth, and goes to sleep. Let's choose another book instead. Peppa goes to the bookshelf. There's a book about a blue tiger, a book about a green spider, a book about an orange penguin, and... Ooh, says Peppa, what's this one? The Wonderful World of Concrete, reads Mummy Pig. I've been looking for that, says Daddy Pig. It's a book I borrowed from the library. What's the library? Asked Peppa. A library is a place where you can go to borrow books. When you finish reading them, you take them back so others can borrow them, says Daddy Pig. He looks at the book. I have had this one for a rather long time, Daddy Pig says. You can return it tomorrow, says Mummy Pig. But right now it's bedtime. After Daddy Pig reads this story, Peppa insists. Daddy Pig begins to read The Wonderful World of Concrete. Concrete is made of sand, water, and other things. Chapter 1, Sand. Sounds of snoring fill the room. Peppa and George are fast asleep. So is Mummy Pig. The next morning, Peppa and her family head to the library. Peppa can't believe how many books are on the shelves. Look at them all, she shouts. Shh, Peppa, says Daddy Pig. You must be quiet in the library because people come here to read and be quiet. Next, please, comes another shout. It's Miss Rabbit, the librarian. Hello, Mommy Pig, she says. Are you returning these books? Yes, Miss Rabbit. Mommy Pig gives her the books to Miss Rabbit to scan, and the computer beeps as the books slide across the computer. Why is the computer beeping? Asks Peppa. It's checking to see if you hadn't been naughty and kept the book for too long. I may have kept this book for a bit too long, says Daddy Pig. Don't worry, says Miss Rabbit. The computer makes a loud, long beep. Beep! Daddy Pig! She shouts. You've had this book for 10 years! Naughty Daddy, says Peppa. Now that Daddy Pig's book is returned, he can borrow another one. Peppa and George want to borrow books too. Miss Rabbit shows Peppa and George to the children's section. Ooh, says Peppa, there are books about princesses and animals and planets. Danny Dog and Susie Sheep are at the library too. Danny Dog is borrowing a book about soccer. Susie Sheep is borrowing a book about doctors. George has chosen his book. It's about dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, says George. Grrr. Daddy Pig has found an exciting new book. 4 Adventures in the World of Concrete. But Daddy Pig, says Peppa, I want a fun bedtime book. Mommy Pig pulls out a red monkey book. Not that again, says Peppa. It's boring. It's a different story, says Mommy Pig. Once upon a time, there was a red monkey. I know, says Peppa. He had a bath, brushed his teeth, and went to sleep, she says. No, says Mommy Pig. He had adventures. Ooh, say the children. They all gather around to see the book. Peppa wants to hear the story. We can read it at home, says Mommy Pig. But I already chose a book about a princess, says Peppa. Then she sees another book about birds. That book looks interesting too. Miss Rabbit has good news for Peppa. You can take up to 3 books home if you would like. Yippee, says Peppa. You just have to remember to bring them back on time, says Miss Rabbit, and that goes for you too, Daddy Pig. Peppa laughs. I'll make sure he remembers. I want to come back to the library all the time. I love the library. Back at home, it's bedtime. Mommy Pig opens a new red monkey book. Once upon a time, there was a red monkey. He jumped in a space rocket and went to the moon. The moon? Says Peppa. What an adventure! Mommy Pig turns the page. He had a picnic with a dinosaur. Dinosaur, says George. Then the red monkey swam under the sea. Mommy Pig turns to the last page. Finally, he climbed the highest mountain. That was a busy day. I think Daddy Pig agrees, says Peppa. Everyone looks. Daddy Pig is fast asleep. The end, whispers Mommy Pig. Sounds of Daddy Pig snoring fill the room. Everyone laughs. What a fun day! The end. What is your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where they got a different red monkey book. Peppa Pig and the Day at the Museum. breakfast, Mommy and Daddy Pig have a surprise. We have a special day planned, says Mommy Pig. We are going to a museum. What is a museum? Asked Peppa. It's a place full of interesting things. Sometimes those things are very old, says Daddy. Older than you? Asked Peppa. Yes, says Daddy. Even older than me. Here we are, says Mommy Pig. The museum is very big, says Peppa. Ooh, says George. Mommy and Daddy Pig buy tickets from Miss Rabbit. What would you like to see first? Asked Miss Rabbit. Jewels, cries Peppa. Dinosaur, says George. Grrr. The first stop is the King's and Queen's room. It is full of things from long ago. Peppa likes the beautiful robes. And look, there's a crown. There is a throne, too. Peppa wishes she could sit on it. She imagines what it'll be like to be queen. To wear the royal crown, and sit on the royal throne. If I were the queen, she says, I would eat cake every day. The family bows to her Royal Highness, Queen Peppa. George does not want to wear a crown and sit on the throne. He wants to see the dinosaurs. George stands at the doorway to the big dinosaur room. There are many unusual creatures here. Everything is so big, says Peppa in a very big voice. Oh, says George in a very small voice. George sees a big dinosaur. Don't worry, says Daddy. Those are just dinosaur bones. They may just be bones, but they are very big. George can just imagine what it would be like to be a dinosaur. He would be bigger than Peppa. He could chase her. George sees something smaller and not very scary. It's a robot dinosaur. Everyone is hungry, so they go to the museum cafe for cake. After the snack, it is time to see the next exhibit. There's a special one at the museum today, says Mommy Pig. It's all about space. George's friend Edmund is at the museum too. Edmund knows a lot about space. He and George wear space helmets to the tour of the exhibit. Miss Rabbit gives them their tickets. First, everyone gets on board the space ride. Blast off, says Mr. Rabbit. He is the tour guide. This is just pretend, isn't it? Asks Peppa. Yes, says Mr. Rabbit. It's just pretend. The rocket takes them to the pretend moon. There are pretend planets too. Do you know what the planets are made of? Asked Mr. Rabbit. Cardboard, says Peppa. Well, these models are made out of cardboard, but the real planets are made out of other things. Rock and ice and gas, says Edmund. What about cheese? Asked Daddy Pig. I thought the moon was made out of cheese. That's just silly, Daddy, says Peppa. If this was the real moon, you could jump over my head, says Mr. Rabbit. Do you know why? There's less gravity, yells Edmund. You're right. We can make you feel like you're on the moon with these special big rubber bands. Everybody straps into the rubber bands. They jump, boing, 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 just like on the moon. Miss Rabbit takes their picture. At the gift shop, Peppa gets the picture of everyone jumping on the pretend moon. Daddy is hungry again, so he gets a piece of moon cheese. Then it's time to go home. It has been a great day at the museum. Later, Mummy Pig asks Peppa and George, what's your favorite thing at the museum? Peppa liked everything at the museum, but she does have a favorite. The crown, says Peppa. George liked the space ride, but that wasn't his favorite. Dinosaur, says George. I had two favorites, said Daddy Pig. The cake and the cheese. The end. What is your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where Daddy Pig buys moon cheese. I don't think there's even such thing as cheese in the moon.